Think with the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way back the baby to sleep.
Until morning. Ewing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's going to try to get one more shot off the half court. The ball's there.
How about that?
Steps over Toronto. He thought about three. He'll put up a three.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Boom Broadcasting presents 3 from G. I'm your host, Jason Colenso. Welcome to the show. Here we are, guys. Saturday, NBA playoffs. We are here. It is time. Let's do this. Play-in tournament's over. We are ready for the real deal now, man. I am super pumped, super excited. But real quick, guys, you also have something huge going on the next 2 nights. If you don't know, WrestleMania has been, all over Boom Broadcasting this week. So you guys don't be afraid to jump on, like, subscribe, get on Boom Broadcasting right now. We will be doing a lot of BOOM-LE-MANIA, celebrating WrestleMania at 4:30. We're doing a pregame tonight and tomorrow on Sunday before the wrestling match. So, guys, you got to jump on Boom Broadcasting. Check us out. A lot of great things going on here. Man, this is such an exciting time of the year, but WrestleMania tonight. So I'm feeling a little ready to rumble right now. So, and I can't rumble by myself. So I have to bring in somebody, guys. I told you I'd have me a special guest because we're jumping right into all this NBA action. So I'm going to bring up right now my man, my friend, Mr. Drew Code Sports Talk, Mr. Cody Johnson. Where you at, buddy? And there you are. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing? You're looking sharp over there, dude. Looking like a mob boss right now. Got to take some kneecaps if you don't watch out.
We'll be quiet on that. I plead the fifth.
All right. We won't incriminate ourselves.
Exactly. Man, I'm excited to have you here, dude. I am excited. We got WrestleMania going on for the next 2 nights. That has been such a hype, big thing going on right now for Boom Broadcasting. You got the NBA playoffs going on. Major League Baseball is in full effect. So, I mean, there is just so much going on this type of year. The spring thaw, the flowers are out. It's just that time of year where you just, you come out of the house, you start feeling that warm sunshine, and you just get so excited, especially with all the sports going on, man. But we are going to jump right into this. We're going to touch base on a lot of the basketball games going on right now. So first things first, let's start in the East. And we're going to start with that one. Cavs versus the number 10 Miami Heat. So the Miami Heat surviving the play-in tournament, which was very impressive, especially after a real rough season for the Miami Heat, going through all the Jimmy Butler drama, not really performing well for the Miami Heat, and to kind of pull it all together, Eric Spoelstra grabbing that team and dragging them through the playoffs. Now they're in the playoff against the Cavaliers, man. This is so exciting to see them because I know Mr. Michael Davis is probably doing handstands and cartwheels because he loves some Tyler Hero. He loves his Miami Heat. So I am super excited for him that the Heat even get a shot. So, but biggest questions I have, man, not so much about the Heat because I think this is a great story for them even to make it to the playoffs. But, man, the Cleveland Cavaliers, number 1 in the East, fantastic, over 60 wins this year. Biggest question I have for them, if these Cavs don't make the finals, can you see major changes going on in this Cleveland Cavaliers team? Because, if you don't make it, next thing you know, they want to blow it up. That a lot of teams do that right now in the NBA. They tend to panic and hit the panic button. So do you see Cleveland panicking if they can't get to the finals this year?
I don't think that they would panic, if I'm being honest. I think that what they would do is they would obviously retool. And I think what makes it very interesting for the Cavs is, yes, they've won 60 wins. Clearly, their offense is more dynamic. Evan Mobley is turning into a superstar before our eyes. You got Jared Allen, who's been facilitating that front that's been very ferocious in the paint. You got Donovan Mitchell doing Donovan Mitchell things. And don't forget, too, that front office added DeAndre Hunter, who has even elevated that offense to another level as a third option. That's been phenomenal. However, if the Cavs don't make the finals, which, again, I've said on your show numerous times, I don't think that they will. I think they're a hot regular season team, and I think that they're just going to get outplayed by the Celtics if that's where they meet. But I think the Cavs would hold. I think Kenny Atkinson in his first year with this Cavaliers team, getting them to 15 more wins than they had all of last season, I think is a great start. I think that we may see a little bit of regression in terms of the win-loss record, but I think what they would do is free agents will look at the Cavaliers and say, that's got some solid pieces. I could be that one. And you'd be amazed on the type of talent that they'll be able to get just based on how well that they've been playing this season under Kenny Atkinson, who unfairly got a bad reputation with Brooklyn when he had to coach Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden before they had Steve Nash. So that's a whole nother thing. So the fact that Kenny Atkinson has revitalized this Cavs, I think will make free agents see the Cavs and be more attractive to get whatever free agent that they might do. Oh, and I didn't even mention Darius Garland. Like, he is another superstar that's on this team that's elevating this. And I just think the Cavs, if they don't make it, they'll be okay, because this is the start of them like repeating the process. And I think that the foundation is good and they'll go from there. And I really like what this management has been doing, because they could have blown it up last year and they didn't it all together. And I think that's what they'll do again this offseason if they don't make it.
But do you think, I mean, I appreciate that with Kenny Atkinson too, and I want to touch base on that here too. His first year as the Cleveland Cavaliers coach, phenomenal year. Did get a bad rap in Brooklyn, but unfortunately the guys he was coaching tend to be coach killers, unfortunately. But Eric Spoelstra, now he's got to go against the Heat. Eric Spoelstra's been here before. He's been the underdog. He's been to places where he shouldn't have been. He's also been to the mountaintop. Do you think that is going to play into this series? Do you think coaching may have some effect on what happens with this Cavs Heat team series?
Sure. Well, of course. I mean, coaching is extremely important. Coaching can elevate talent and it can also diminish talent. But I think too, like, if I'm looking at the teams, we can give the Heat Spoelstra. Like, he is one of the top, we'll say 15 to 20 coaches all time in the game because of how prepared he is, the championships, being under the stewardship of Pat Riley has really excelled his career. Right. But at the same time, like, yes, Kenny Atkinson is not the coach that Spoelstra is, but we can agree that there is so much more talent on the Cavs team right now with Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, like all the other players that we've mentioned. And on the Miami Heat, with good coaching, you still need a roster that can elevate. And we can all agree that the Heat just aren't there. Like, they got rid of their number one guy. They brought in Andrew Wiggins, who did really well for them today. They have Bam. They've got Tyler Hero, who's really stepped into a superstar role. But honestly, is that even enough? Like, they don't really have as many role pieces to be a threat in the East as they should. And I think, credit to Spoelstra to coach up these guys to even get in from the play-in, which is the first 10th seed to ever do it. And if I'm Atlanta Falcons, I'd be writing to the commissioner about how the play-in system sucks, because they're an 8th seed that got bounced. Like, that's surprising. Right. But nevertheless, though, like, credit Spo for getting them up to this level. But Miami just does not have the roster. They don't have the pieces. It's not a knock to Spo. It's just right now, like, you've got an incomplete roster, got a lot of question marks in free agency from not only Miami, but the rest of the NBA. And who knows who they might be able to get into Miami. I will say, though, one of the things that Miami's going to have to watch out for is the new reputation that Pat Riley has now been given post Jimmy Butler trade about all the, rumors of how much of a stickler he was with LeBron, how much of a control freak he was during the Jimmy Butler process. Like, free agents may not want to go with Pat Riley anymore like they used to because of how old school he is to a
part of the
fault.
Heat culture. I mean, that's what the Heat culture was all about, was kind of that control, control the chaos, control the noise. You know, it works both ways. Yes, control sometimes when it's overdone can be bad,
Sure.
especially in today's NBA where players have more power than they used to. They have more
Right.
power than they ever had
Right.
in the history of this league.
Mhm.
Um, but do you think with this run for the Miami Heat, playing as well as they have been, even with missing that extra piece, I love me some Tyler Hero,
Mhm.
but I still think he's really not that dude. Um, I don't know. He's missing something to me still. But do you think this run is going to help them bring in free agents like a Kevin Durant, like somebody out there? Maybe they can move some stuff around and go do a trade and get
Mhm.
somebody in there. Because is this Heat team, especially the way it's format, this way it's built right now, do you think they're an attractive team for, or a destination team for free agents?
I think Miami, the location itself is a free agency, like, hub. They're going to want to
South,
go there. It's
yeah,
South Beach, they're going to want to go there. However, I think the idea of playing with, if they can retain Bam, if they can keep Tyler Hero, those pieces are really attractive pieces for other free agents that might be able to come in and help and do XYZ. I will say, like, I think what makes it tough is players know that they will be dealing with Pat Riley, and Pat Riley is old school to a fault, and not old school in a bad way, but in some cases, like, I could make the argument that Pat Riley screwed the Miami Dolphins with the Jimmy Butler trade because he let it drag on for so long that Jimmy lost his value and it just became a circus at one point. Like, we all were upset with Jimmy about how he handled it, but then at the same time, like, I'm also upset with Pat by how immature he was about letting it go on so long. It was almost to, like, almost like to control the narrative, but it worked to his detriment, not to his benefit. But I do think that Miami has an opportunity to get certain free agents. The quality of free agents, I think, is very interesting because we got to worry about the salary cap increase, the second apron, and all that stuff. What are they going to do with the guys on their roster? Because they got guys on contracts that, are they going to stick around? Are they going to re-sign? Could they package those somewhere else? Also, what really free agent is out there in this offseason? I mean, you mentioned Kevin Durant, but you actually have to put a package together to the Suns to facilitate that. Does that include Bam? Does that include Tyler Hero? Because I don't think the Suns are going to let, KD go away for free. Maybe the Nuggets, with them not having a head coach, maybe they're willing to let go of Michael Porter Jr. or some situation like that. Just, throwing that out there. But Miami will attract free agents because of location, but I do think that, like, prominent free agents, the ones that might actually make a difference for Spo, may think twice about going there just because of what Miami's reputation is when it comes to free agents. And I'm not saying it's not okay to have boundaries and, run a tight ship. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying players, and to your credit, you mentioned this, some players may not like that. And that's just the reality of it. Some are okay with structure, some are not. Miami's just really rigid in their structure, and it's going to take a lot of convincing for certain free agents to sign up for that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, Pat Riley is doing anything wrong.
But you sit in that room with Pat Riley, and he's got championships all over the wall.
Sure.
And you're an older player that's dying for a chip. I think you would put up with the get off my lawn guy a little bit more. You would give him a little more leeway because he's brought people to the promised land. So it is going to be an interesting offseason for them.
I think too, though, that's kind of my point. Like, the aging veteran that's probably on their way out would be attracted to that. But the free agents that you're looking for are kind of the young thoroughbreds that are actually going to have the youth, the energy, the athleticism, maybe the shooting, that aren't going to be so attracted to the whole Pat Riley ruling with an iron fist. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, like, for example, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Let's say Al Horford becomes a free agent somehow, some way. He finds his way in Miami. Al Horford will probably like the way that Miami runs operations because he's an older player.
Right.
But like, let's assume Jared Jackson Jr., for example, from Memphis winds up in Miami. He will not have as good of a time. As my point is, the young players that could probably make a difference that you're going to want to attract may think twice about going there. But an old veteran that is probably on their way out will probably be okay with that because I can deal with structure. I'm almost out. It's fine. That's kind of my ultimate point is certain free agents may rethink their chances of going to Miami. But thankfully, Miami is in Miami in South Beach. It's not like it's Indiana. So
Right.
we're thankful for that. But I just think that with how the situation with Pat Riley and even with LeBron's story about how cookies weren't provided any longer because Pat Riley wanted to be that much of a control freak, that's not great stories to have out there either. And I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. It's just this is the first year that we actually kind of heard it be uttered into the ether, and players are going to take that into consideration, whether we like it or not.
Well, there's a lot of that around the NBA. It just happens to be louder when it's someone like Pat Riley. So, but the biggest question I have is, all right, this series, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers, the best in the East, going against those surprising Miami Heat. Who do you got, and what do you think the record is in this series?
So I'm going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they've got too much firepower. As much as I love Spo, and we just mentioned it, he's a great coach. But I just think the Cleveland Cavaliers have so much of a talented roster. Miami Heat's going to have a hard time trying to figure out who to stop first. There's just too many players that can beat you any way that they want. I got this series going in 5. I've got the Cavs doing a gentleman's sweep on Miami. I think Miami is good enough to at least get one. I think that they're coached well enough to at least steal one. But for the most part, the Cavs in 5, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry, Boom Broadcasting President Michael Davis. I think it's a full-on sweep. I think the Cavaliers are just too strong. Look, I love the Heat story. I love the scrappiness of this team, but I think they're just missing too much. Their bench is not deep. They have Wiggins, but everybody else is still kind of young in there. I know Bam has some experience, but Tyler Hero, a lot of the times when they won, Tyler Hero was hurt, so he didn't even get to experience a lot of the playoff runs with Jimmy Butler. But I think this 4-game sweep, I think there's no doubt about it. I think the Cavs are on a mission this year. They got a chip on their shoulder from last year, not showing out very well. So give me the Cavs in 4, man. Unfortunately, sorry about that, Prez, Michael Davis. But we're going to jump in here to the second team there, the Boston Celtics, returning NBA champions, going against the number 7 Orlando Magic, which was one of my sleeper teams this year because I love that Orlando Magic team, man. They have some young dogs on that team. They are fun to watch. Again, I wish Paulo didn't get hurt early in the season. I know Franz got hurt later in the season too. But right now, you have the Boston Celtics trying to create a dynasty. Jason Tatum trying to push his way into the elite status, which to me is unbelievable that someone as talented as him never really gets mentioned a lot in the MVP race or, oh God, the great guys. Let's put Luka and Giannis and Joker. You never hear anything about Jason Tatum. And right now they're on the cusp of repeating as champions because they're playing well. It was hard to catch the Cavaliers because they had such a phenomenal start. But this Boston Celtics team, are they poised to become a dynasty in the league the way it's set up right now?
Ooh, that's a great question because it really depends on health. And like if they can keep Kristaps Porzingis healthy, if Jason Tatum doesn't get injured, if Jaylen Brown, who I know has kind of been struggling with some injuries earlier this season, Jaylen Brown can stay healthy relatively. Derek White, if there's no injuries there, Drew Holiday. I mean, these are guys that are pretty much like workhorses. They're going to show up, but you never know. Like injuries can strike you at any moment. I do think that Boston, oddly enough, is kind of built to. I think Boston's the strongest team in these playoffs, East or West, in my opinion. I think that they're built for that. Wow. I do think, though, that, again, I have to see like how this playoff season goes for them in general, because if they get back-to-back, I think that there's a strong case that, they're going to build a dynasty similar to Golden State because they've got youth still on their side. Like Jason Tatum is 25. Jaylen Brown is 26. He's still really young. I mean, some of the veteran players like Drew Holiday, Derek White, like what we talked about, technically Porzingis is kind of on the older side, but this team still has a great foundation, and their coach, say what you want about him, but he's got them coached up. And Brad Stevens, who used to be former Boston's head coach, but now he's in their executive, he's built a hell of a team. And I can only imagine that it's only going to get better because, again, like Boston, if they continue to succeed and win, free agents are going to be flocking to that because that's where they can go win a championship. So if you got somebody that's looking to give their best on defense, looking to give some firepower that Boston wants, and if you can shoot threes and drive to the rack, you're on the team basically. And I think Boston could be poisoning themselves up to be a pretty good dynasty, but I hate to say it's kind of premature. I need to see if they even win this championship before I can even agree or disagree with the dynasty aspect of it.
Right. Well, they definitely have the squad. I love Peyton Pritchard too. I think he's kind of an unsung hero on there. I know he averages a little over 14 points a game, but he's one of those guys that if someone's not stepping up, he could probably drop 25 or 30 points. So watch out for Peyton Pritchard. Derek White, I mean, he is extremely underrated too. The Porzingis effect, I do agree with that. I think he's the wild card. It's like it's nice to have him there, but if he gets hurt, I still think this Boston team is deep enough.
Right.
Because they've done it before without him.
Right.
So, I mean, Porzingis is just like, okay, I get a few extra sprinkles on the
well,
Sunday.
He's the insurance policy to it. Like he's the if there's a scale and it's favoring Boston, it puts the hand on Boston completely and outweighs everybody else because he's a 7-footer that can shoot and he's lengthy, so he can play defense really well. Problem is if he can stay on the court, which is what he struggles with. So that's the only thing I can see that hinders Boston. But to your credit, they're deep, so they can probably shine without him.
Yep. And Joe Mazzulla, he's one of those coaches that, man, if they're as dry as dry, he is like the Sahara Desert dry. He is the same win, loss, regular season, postseason, off season. Like his demeanor does not change. I don't know what school he went to. That school of like, I'm just
monotone.
Monotone. I'm not excited about anything. You can ask me any question, and I'm just gonna fluff it off. He is. It's crazy. He's like Bill Belichick. He just
it must be a Boston thing because I was going to say Belichick does the exact same thing.
Yep, on to Cincinnati. But Orlando, I do like them. I do like this team. I do like the way it's constructed. Paulo Banchero over almost 26 points a game this year. Franz Wagner, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Anthony Black showed up. Jalen Suggs. I mean, so they have a pretty deep bench. I mean, I do like this Orlando team. The biggest thing is youth and experience. But can Orlando make a name for themselves? Because not a lot of people know this team. They're not on TV a lot. Nobody goes. I'm going to go to Florida to watch the Orlando Magic play. But do you think this Orlando Magic team can do something in these playoffs to really get the league on notice that, hey, we're not just the punching bag Orlando Magic anymore?
Jason, you're going to hate this. There's nothing that they can do. They are too green. Ironically enough, they're just too young. I mean, they've got some great players. They don't get me wrong. Obviously Paulo is great. They added Wendell Carter, who's been phenomenal. Cole Anthony, who basically helped win them the play-in against Atlanta on Thursday. This is a great young team. It's too soon for them. Like, this is the most success that they've experienced in 6 seasons. And and I'm probably being very generous on that. It's probably longer than that. And they're going up against the defending NBA Finals champions. To think that this is not going to be a massacre is kind of like, it's kind of being polite to, Orlando. But let's be honest, they are going to look like a JV team on the court against Boston. Now, the only way that I can see that they would shine or be impressed is if can, like, for example, can they go up 2-0 on Boston and Boston then just goes 4-0 on them? Then I can say, okay, respectable, Orlando showed up. But
Right.
I can bet we're both going to struggle to see if they can win one game. Like, it's going to take a lot for Orlando to beat the Celtics just one time. And I think one of the problems with Orlando is they get hot, but they get cold a lot faster. And for example, the play-in game with Atlanta, they started off hot, had a pretty good lead, got cold for a long stretch. And Atlanta caught up, took the lead. You know, Orlando had to figure it all out. And fortunately they did, but you can't do that to Boston. Boston's not going to let up and let you go cold and then let you get back into the game. They are absolutely going to put a shellacking on them, for lack of a better word, you know. So I think Orlando is a season away from being really a threat in the East. And I would just say, unfortunately, they're going up against Boston. And there's no shame to getting swept by the champions, but it's going to be a very quick series for Orlando for sure.
So I take it this is going to be Boston in 4.
Yeah, Boston in 3, you know. So, but yeah, Boston in 4.
Yeah, and I see that too. I look at it. I love Orlando. I hope they can attract a free agent or get some more pieces there to get some little more experience, because they are a great upcoming team. But it's just Orlando, unfortunately, has never been a free agent destination. But hopefully they can get somebody. Good season. Need a little extra work. But, I can see Boston just totally destroying them. I think they'll give them a puncher's chance if a lot of guys get hurt or something crazy happens. But,
they might give them a head start by sitting all their starters for the first 3 games. You know, spot them 3 games. Is that what you're saying?
Spot them 20 points and then get blown out by 25. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I'm giving them a little credit. I think it'll be closer than that, especially in the first couple of games. And then maybe when they get to Orlando, you get home court advantage. You get a little hyped up for that. So, Boston, they're going to be a tough team in this playoffs, man. So we're going to jump in here to my number 3 team.
Oh, yeah.
My New York Knicks, man. I am so excited. We got Tibbs versus JB Bickerstaff. So, you know, we have 2 good coaches. I'm going to give props to Detroit from going from literally one of the worst teams in the NBA last year to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Cade Cunningham, credit to him, man. I mean, how many number 1 draft picks have we had in the NBA over the past 20 years that have just kind of fizzled out and disappeared because they've had some bad seasons? They've had some bad seasons. Cade's had some bad seasons, but then turns it around and has a phenomenal season. I mean, he's averaging 26 points a game. They got Tobias Harris there. He's averaging a little over 13. So Detroit is not going to be an easy out, but man, my Knicks, I am so excited. We got Brunson back, the Brunson burner. This Karl Anthony Towns trade, this is when he really needs to turn it on. And I called him out when Brunson got hurt.
Yep.
He had a couple of good games, a few games where he kind of disappeared. But is this series more important to the New York Knicks, or is this more important to the Detroit Pistons?
Okay. We're going to be honest here. Detroit's just happy to be at the party. I'm sure that they did not have expectations of being in the playoffs. I'm sure that their goals was, hey, let's get to the play-in. Let's get there. I think we can agree that Detroit's a great Cinderella story in the sense of, like, they tripled their win totals from last year, got into the playoffs. They look like a functioning organization, and they haven't been for a better part of 5 seasons. Like, it's been a long time. I think that this is more important for the Knicks. And the reason why is because look at the trades you guys did this offseason. Mikal Bridges, Cat, look at the capital you guys spent just to get those 2 players.
Right.
And if you guys, and I'm not saying you guys will, I'll give a fair prediction for your Knicks. But if they don't make it out of the first round, I would be upset as a New York Knick. You invest all this draft capital and invest a lot of players to get Cat, to get Mikal Bridges, just for it to not go anywhere outside of the first round. I think is what the Knicks need the most. So to me, like, the team that needs this the most is the Knicks. They need to come out, win this first round, get some confidence. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Knicks are like 0-10 or 0-12 against playoff teams. Yes. And this is really going to show, like, can the Knicks rise up to the occasion? Because don't get me wrong, like, they've played great competitive basketball against playoff teams. I'm not trying to say that they get like ran off the court. They don't even get blown out. They're close games. They just don't hang on until the very end. So they're right there. But can the Knicks do that now for a 7-game series against Detroit, who, granted, they're kind of like not familiar with the playoffs, but can the Knicks outlast the Detroit Pistons? Like, that's a legit concern, is can they do that? So I think this is more important for the Knicks for sure because of what they've spent just to get to this point.
And I'm concerned about that too. Look, they had a 50-win team last year, second in the East, and then got bounced in the semis by Indiana. So this is definitely hugely important to Tibbs and this team, especially the way it's constructed. They have the personnel: OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. Talked about him. I mean, you have Brunson and Cat, but they have the depth to make some noise. But that Detroit Pistons team is scrappy, and if you look at a lot of the numbers, like points per game, rebounds, assists, field goal percentage, both of these teams are pretty evenly matched. The only thing that's a little bit off is the Knicks are better at free throws. They're as a team, they shoot 80%. Detroit 77%. So to me, if I'm a New York Knick and I'm coaching that team, guys, get to the line, because that's where you're going to wear this team down. That's where you're going to get those bonus points. You're shooting a good percentage from the free throw line. So get in there, body it up. Let's see some East 90s basketball where you're down there, you're throwing it down low. Karl Anthony Towns pushing people around. I want you to get physical because, Detroit started getting a little chippy towards the end of the year too. And I guarantee they're going to have that chippiness here in the playoffs, because Bickerstaff's going to go to that team and go, guys, look, you're not supposed to be here. Go there and start pushing people around. I don't care if you get a foul. Just knock people down. Body
Isaiah Stewart will be more than happy to honor that request.
Oh, yeah, no. So that's what kind of makes me a little bit nervous about this, is it's going to be a physical series. And with Brunson coming off with the injury, how well is he going to be able to handle a physical series? Even if they do get past Detroit, is he going to come out of this thing, not beat up? So I'm really concerned about the physicality that's going to be in this series. But the other question I have too is for Cade Cunningham, again, a number 1 draft pick, really hasn't done much the 3-4 years he's been in the league. All of a sudden, great season. Now he's in the playoffs. Does he need to showcase his talents in this playoffs to legitimize being a number 1 draft pick?
Well, that's tough because last season he was injured. So it's really hard to pin last season on him to say, like, he's so far it hasn't been as successful of a career, because if I'm not mistaken, this is year 3 for him technically, because 3. So he's still fairly young. In his rookie year, I mean, Detroit, God, were they awful. And I think they only won 14 games last year.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So, I mean, I think Cade Cunningham has proven each pivotal game that he has played against high competition that he is legit, and he can legit play. Like, you can eyeball test says he is not only great when it comes to passing, he's a great leader on that team. He's clearly the catalyst to scoring. The offense runs through him and he gets that team going, and it won't be long before he's in MVP conversations. He's that talented of a player.
Wow.
Well, let's be honest.
Conversation.
In the conversation. And let's be honest, like, let's say Detroit is, again, a playoff team in the next 2 seasons. Who else other than Cade is really leading that charge? And then an argument could be made this season that without Cade, Detroit doesn't get more than 15 games again, because Cade has won them games. So I would say Cade's coming out party will be these playoffs, because I think he's the type of player that when the competition gets higher, his play gets better. And it's been seen before when he goes against OKC, when he went against the Cavaliers, his game upped. And I think that's what's going to happen in this playoff series is you're going to see playoff Cade come to life. And I think this is his coming out party to let everyone know I could be the face of the NBA. And I think that's what we might see in this series.
Right. And that's what makes me nervous is because Detroit has had some quality wins against quality teams, whereas the New York Knicks are 0 against the Celtics, the Cavaliers, the Lakers, Oklahoma City. That is very, very depressing. I mean, again, you have Karl Anthony Towns on there, who is essentially a double-double 30-10 machine. They should have no problem with him and Brunson getting past Detroit. But I think, again, this is going to be a tough series. So who do you got, and what do you think the record is?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to go with the Knicks, but it's going to take 7 games.
Really? You think it is going the whole boat?
Well, here's why. Because, again, to your point, Detroit's a physical team, and Knicks can get physical, which means it's going to be probably a low-scoring affair, and we're going to have to outlast these teams. I think the Knicks have the depth to do it. They have the better overall scoring, bunch. If I'm being honest, like they have Obi, obviously they've got Cat, they've got Mikal Bridges who can play defense and score. You got Jalen Brunson. So to me, they've got the most amount of players that can contribute offensively, more so than Detroit. But Detroit is so physical. I think the Knicks are just going to get bullied on some nights to where the shot's not falling. But I think the Knicks will outlast Detroit. So that's my thing. So I got the Knicks in 7. And before I get your answer, though, I want to ask you a Knicks question.
Okay.
And I want you to be dead honest about this.
Shoot.
Let's assume, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, let's assume the Knicks don't make it out of the first round.
Oh.
Okay, I know it's that hurts to even think about.
Yeah, come on.
Again, this past offseason, you guys traded for Cat and Mikal Bridges. You guys let go of all that draft capital to get those 2 players to get bounced in the first round. Does Tom Thibodeau keep his job?
No. I think the way this NBA is, you just saw Malone lose his job, and he won a chip.
Yeah.
So I don't think they blow up the squad. But I think the Tibbs change is a possibility because now you have a Malone floating out there. You're going to have a bunch of other coaches. You have Bickerstaff, Budenholzer, who won a chip with the Bucks. You got him floating out there. So you have champion coaches that are out there right now. And Tom Thibodeau, as good of a coach as he is, he ain't never won anything. So as a Knicks fan, with lofty expectations, you better make some noise in this playoffs, or the back page of the New York Post is going to have some nasty, nasty stuff to say about Tom Thibodeau. So I don't think he makes it. If they get bounced and it looks ugly, I think he's done. I think they go out and they find a champion coach.
I think so. I'd agree. I think he would be gone, but I do think that Knicks would make that decision because there's a Mike Malone that's out there, and a Mike Malone on your guys' Knicks might put you guys up there. I'm not saying you should wish for their downfall, but I'm just saying.
I'm not wishing for the downfall. and again, they got some free agents next year that New York is still a destination town. So that's why they really need to show out in these playoffs and show that the New York Knicks are that kind of team where you need to go and play in New York. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I got the Knicks. I got them in 5. I think they do the gentleman sweep. I do love Detroit. I love the story. I love seeing them back in here. The Detroit Pistons, I think they're going to be wearing some of the old school jerseys too, which is kind of cool. Get the Grant Hill jersey back in full effect here. So that's going to be kind of cool. But I just think the Knicks are deep enough. They have more firepower. And again, they have memories of last year from getting bounced early in the playoffs. So, and Tibbs is coaching for his job.
Yeah.
Detroit's playing with house money right now.
Oh, yeah. They
came
have
out of the basement to sit at the table. You're happy because you got a seat. So we'll see what happens, man. But let's go Knicks, guys. Come on. All right, we'll jump in here. Who the Knicks got beat by last year? We're gonna go with this Pacers-Bucks matchup, which is the 4-5, which is a really interesting matchup because again, these guys match up very well.
Mhm.
You got Rick Carlisle versus old Doc Rivers. Like Bucks, beginning of the year, they wanted to fire the coach. They wanted to trade Giannis, blow everything up. The Bucks are done, but they managed to kind of scrape through that. Giannis quietly having a MVP type season. But I think the biggest thing for this is they got Dame Lillard back. So
Mhm.
what form of Dame Lillard are they going to have? I don't know. But as a Bucks fan, to see that he's healthy and they gave him clearance to play, I think that is just going to motivate the team around him. But the biggest question is man, if the Bucks can't get past Indiana, is Doc Rivers gone? Do they trade Giannis? I mean, do you see what was supposed to happen in the beginning of the year happen at the end of the year if the Bucks do not get out of this round of the playoffs?
If Doc Rivers gets bounced in this first round with the Bucks, didn't he just sign a 5-year extension last season? So he's on the books technically for 5 more years.
Yeah.
So if he gets let go after the first full season that he had,
Right.
I don't know if that's premature or that's on management for the Bucks to even sign into 5 years, committing to that long and then not sticking to him. But anyways, if I think that there is a world where if the Bucks get bounced in this first round of the Pacers, which by the way, very likely, I think there is a world where you start thinking, what can we get for Dame? Because you need to get some assets back. I think Dame would be the first one to be moved because obviously he's the one that kind of didn't even like being in Milwaukee for a while. And also too, he's missed quite a bit of time. Giannis has always been there. Giannis is hardly ever injured. So you can rely on him and build around him a lot easier than Lillard. But I'm going to throw this out there. If there is a world where Giannis is on the trade block, I think there's one team that would come in and might sell the farm to get Giannis, and that'd be the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat need a player like Giannis. If that means sacrificing Bam Adebayo but keeping Tyler Hero, I see the Miami Heat doing that. No offense to Bam,
I got
but
one more team that may do that too.
give me that.
And they're out in the West because there's still a little life left in them.
Uh-huh.
The senior citizens, the Golden State Warriors.
See, I just don't know if they have enough to entice
capital, and they have some players that they can, you get a Kuminga. But anyway, all right, let's jump back into the playoffs here. We'll talk about next year.
Yeah, no kidding. Here. I don't know if the Warriors have enough to get Giannis, but that would be very, very interesting. I think Miami, though, they have more of the draft capital. They have more of the contracts that you can offload that are like 1-year commitments that you can then write off the books, which would be better. I think Miami is poised for that. And I think Giannis would want to go to a team that's structured like what Pat Riley does, because I think he's going to want a grown-up running operations, because it doesn't feel like the Bucks are really doing that.
Right.
The last 2 off seasons post championship run for the Bucks, they have not seemed like a championship ran organization. They seem like they're just kind of flying off the seat in their pants and really have no vision. And that's clear as day with this season. Right. Giannis is still carrying them. They really don't have a future beyond this. So what's next? So that's what I'll say. I think if they bounce in the first round, there's some conversations on what's the future looking like for Giannis and Lillard. And I think that happens as soon as the series is over, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I can see that too. It's going to be tough for the Bucks. This is going to be an interesting series. I don't think you're going to get much for Dame Lillard. He's injured now. He is an aging superstar. I think he's a good bench or role player on a team, maybe an Orlando Magic, maybe a Houston Rockets, who could use kind of a sniper / someone.
Man, don't let him go to Houston. Houston would be dangerous. Holy cow.
They're
that would be
scary. But Giannis, again, MVP season from him, man. Averaging over 30 points, over 11 rebounds, over 6, almost 7 assists a game too. Having a phenomenal season. But man, everybody's been sleeping on the Indiana Pacers. I mean, nobody watches those Midwest games, Indiana is not a sexy team. You got Halliburton, you got Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam. He's won a chip before with Toronto, but averaging 20 points a game. This Pacers team averages 117 points a game. They've had some of the largest point totals this season. I think they've scored over 150 points multiple times. So do you think the Pacers are flying under the radar and are a team to fear in the East?
I agree. I think if there's an Eastern team that could shock some people, Indiana Pacers. And I think the reason why is because you don't really know how they're going to come about it. Like, they don't have a legit number one guy that's going to get the ball. All you have to do is stop him. They have Tyrese Halliburton. They've got Pascal Siakam, just these players that you point out, Miles Turner. Like, they've got a band of guys that can come together and in a collective effort play really good team defense and score in bunches. And before you know it, they get white hot and then just start putting the ball in the basket. And it's very hard to stop that, especially they're not even penetrating the lane very much. They're shooting outside shots. And the only way to stop outside shots is to approach them on the perimeter, which leaves the lane open. And they just can have a bunch of creative ways offensively to beat you. So I think Indiana is one of those teams in the East that, more so than the Bucks, in my opinion, could shock some people, because this is what their second or third season that they've made the playoffs. And this team is just slightly getting better each season. And I think Indiana could shock some people and take maybe a series here and maybe even push a team like the Cavs, if they meet, to like a 7-game series, because they might have the firepower to counteract what the Cavs have. So I think people shouldn't sleep on the Pacers.
Yeah, and they're a long team too. They're a deep team, and they can score buckets. I mean, you have to score 120 points plus to even run with these guys. And I don't know if the Bucks have that much in them. I don't know if Giannis can really handle that right now. So Milwaukee or the Indiana Pacers, I can see them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, because I think they're one of the few teams that matches up really, really well with the Cleveland Cavaliers as far as length, down low, perimeter, buckets, evenly spaced, even team. Like, it's not top heavy, it's not bottom heavy. Just from the front of the bench to the back of the bench, everybody contributes. And Rick Carlisle, he's not a scrub. He's been in this league. He knows how to win. Again, they beat the heck out of my Knicks last year and played really, really well. So I'm nervous about, if I'm the East, I am really watching the Pacers and seeing what they do against the Bucks here. So, all right, who wins and how many games we got in this series?
I'm going to go with the Pacers in 6. I like that team more. I don't trust Doc Rivers. I think he's been getting head coaching jobs because of his championship that he won with Boston, that essentially the players carried him to get. But I think the Pacers, man, they're just a good team. And I just don't know I don't know what offense that the Bucks can generate to outlast or outpace the Pacers. And we don't know what kind of shape Dame Lillard's going to be in when he gets into the series. Is he going to be game shape ready? No. Is his shot going to be there? Is he going to coexist with Giannis, which I think he will, but also, like, I don't see Kyle Kuzma all of a sudden stepping up in the playoffs. Like, he didn't do it all the rest of the season since he was traded to the Bucks. I just think that the Pacers, they're sound. They're solid. They are a team that's they're the stronger team. They're going to outlast. But I got Pacers in 6. I think the Bucks are going to put up a hell of a fight, though.
I do, and I like Giannis. I think he's going to put up a fight, because to me, he's still top 5 in the world. He is that kind of talent. It is a shame that they had to deal with all that drama in the beginning of the year with the trade rumors and stuff. So I'm sure that's eating them up a little bit. Unfortunately, I think if the Pacers get a lead in this series, those stories from earlier in the season are going to just all of a sudden come rushing back up. And so, like, game 5, he's going to be getting the questions of, oh, Giannis, are you going to be here next year? And the series not going to be over. So that's going to weigh on him. But I too, I have the Pacers in 6. I just think they are too much of a team. Dame Lillard as a shooter, you need your legs, and to get him into game shape, because he hasn't been able to do anything as far as getting over the deep flame thrombosis, whatever you call it. There, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV.
You dress like one.
I don't. I don't think I think maybe game 3 he might be able to contribute, but I don't see this Bucks team, unfortunately. And I do think Milwaukee blows it up at the end of the season, because they wanted to blow it up at the beginning of the season. They started winning. And if they get bounced first round, I think it's TNT Dynamite.
Very possible. Yeah.
Yep. So quick timeout. I know we got a lot going on, but I want to get your excitement level, because, again, we're Boom broadcasting right now. A lot going on, especially with WrestleMania. We got WrestleMania tonight. We're doing our pregame festivities starting at 4:30. So join Boom Broadcasting on the YouTube channel at 4:30. The Prez is going to be there. Podcast Mate, I think everybody's going to be there. Malinov with Mike. I mean, there's going to be a gang of guys there talking about the matches for tonight. And then, of course, we'll be back on Sunday at 4:30 to talk about WrestleMania. So what is your excitement level for the wrestling this weekend?
It's, you know what? I think it's crept up to being fairly high as we've gotten to this stage. I think it was a slow build. There's some storylines that have kind of developed a little slow. And I think Michael and the rest of the crew, and you, Jason, would probably agree that, they're probably developing right at the right time. I think what's very interesting, and for those that are, wrestling fans that have heard the name John Cena, this is his last WrestleMania of his wrestling performing career. And so it's going to be very interesting how he competes and performs against Cody Rhodes, who is the challenger, or who's the champion. Right. So it's very interesting, but there is a ton that is going to happen. A lot of interesting storylines, a lot of history. And every year it seems like WrestleMania just has something new and interesting. I'm very excited to see what entails all of that. And, Jason, like you said, we're going to be on night 1 and night 2 tonight and tomorrow night talking about the match card for both nights. And it'll be a ton of fun. So if everyone can just go and hang out at the Boom Broadcast YouTube channel, it'll be a ton of fun.
I tell you what, man, you guys got me hype. I'm an old school wrestle fan. I haven't been into the new school, but I tell you what, just hanging around with everybody in the Boom Broadcasting family, they got me hyped up for it. So I'm excited about it too. Yes, please, guys, jump on, subscribe, jump on Boom Broadcasting YouTube channel. We're going to talk about it. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. So you got to check us out, man. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of great content, man. Please do not miss it. So we'll get a time in. We're going to jump right in here to the Wild Wild West. I'm really excited to talk about the West, because you talk about a bunch of teams just so jammed together. You had Oklahoma City and then 10 teams that literally were within 4 games of each other. It's insane that the play-in teams a lot of them were tied or within a game. So, I mean, this is such a tight race in the West. But OKC, you know what? I am super shocked that the Grizzlies showed up. John Morant showing up to get through beating those woeful Dallas Mavericks. I think they're just glad to get the season over with. So the life support is over. So let's move them to the side and let them handle their business in the offseason in peace, because they need some right now. But, man, Oklahoma City, best team in the league. You're going to probably have the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Coming off a weak performance in last year's playoffs. How much does that weigh on this team's mind right now? How much does last year's ghosts really affect the way Oklahoma City makes its way through these playoffs?
I think it's going to play a big role more than people think, because, again, just like what you said, Shai Gilgeous is probably going to be the MVP. OKC led the association in the record in general. They are the hottest team. Honestly, even though there is Boston, there's a lot of people that would probably say the Thunder, it's their year to win it. That's a ton of pressure to put on a team that like you said, got bounced last year and they still have that taste in their mouth. Now, are they going to rise to the occasion or are they going to crumble under the pressure? I think that's going to be a storyline for them all year. And they're going to face mountains of pressure where they're actually the favorite. They're actually the one that's being hunted, not per se the hunters, because every team, the Grizzlies especially, they are going to want to put a licking on the Thunder to let them know they're not afraid of them, which means you're going to get a lot of teams best right off the gate, and you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do around that. Can OKC's young age, even though like they've been to the playoffs, because they're in this new environment of like they're the considered favorites and then the juggernaut, so to speak,
right?
Can they rise to that occasion and overcome, being considered choke artists if they don't make it? Like, can they rise to that occasion? Because the Grizzlies, even though they let go of their head coach, playoff seasoned, can they get past a team that has that kind of presence and that kind of experience? And can the Thunder put them away like they should? Because again, they're considered the favorite. This is new territory for the Thunder. So I think that storyline of are they a flash in the pan or are they legit is a true thing, and the ghost of last year's playoffs, I think, is on the back of everyone's mind. And you might see the Thunder start off a little tight because again, new environment, they're the favorites. How do they respond to that new responsibility?
That's why I think this first series is majorly important to them. And I think it's a good thing that they're getting kind of a Grizzlies team that's trying to find its identity again, coaching, etc. If they can get to like the second or third game and they're winning and they're clicking on all cylinders, I think that's going to do well for their psyche. But on the other side of the coin, being getting to the playoffs, which Ja do you think we're going to see in these playoffs? Are you going to get the clown, grenade, a little more immature Ja Morant? Or do you think Ja is going to get out of his own way, realize that he has a chance to become more and a face of the NBA and be the Ja we saw earlier in the year, the little more mature, the one that was trying to be a little more of a leader? So, I mean, we got the tale of two Ja's right now. So which one do you think is going to show up in this playoff series?
I think the same Ja that's been revealing himself the last few weeks, the one that's immaturity is starting to pop out again. I think what'll be interesting to see is how he responds if or when there's a game where the Thunder are kind of blowing out the Grizzlies. Maybe it's on an elimination game. What's Ja's, how's he going to behave? How is he going to act? Is he going to stay focused? Is he going to stay professional, or is he going to revert to immature tactics, which is kind of weird because Ja has been in the league 5 years, I think now, or 6 seasons. And yet it still feels like we're waiting for him to mature up to be a leader of the team. And when I think of the Memphis Grizzlies, I don't think of Ja Morant as a leader. I know that he's on the team, but I see like Jarrett Jackson Jr. as the leader of the team. He seems to be the guy that the Grizzlies rely on the most, and not Ja, even though Ja, in all intents and purposes, should be the guy.
Right.
But he's not. And I think I'm very curious to see, how does Ja respond to adversity when his team is not able to compete with the Thunder, and when they're getting blown out or the calls aren't going his way in a high stress situation with these playoffs. I'm very curious to see. I don't think that Ja all of a sudden is going to come up with this maturity that was blessed upon him at the last second. I think he's going to revert to what he's been doing the last several weeks, which is what Ja has been doing, which is whatever Ja wants to do. And if that's at the detriment to his team, so be it. That's just what Ja does.
Unfortunately, I kind of see that too. Ja Morant, he's one of the most electric players to watch him. Some of the plays he makes when he plays above the rim, when he is balling out, it is so much fun to watch. But then he does stupid things. Then he gets in his own way, and it gets so disappointing because you've seen the flashes of this great player, and then it just goes all the way once he does something completely ignorant. I think this series is more important to Ja, because if he does not win or lose, if he does not act accordingly and show maturity, he was not going to be a Memphis Grizzly next year. I think he is gone. I think Grizzlies are done. They're not going to invest into, big money, max money in somebody that they can't trust. Look, Dallas couldn't trust Luka, and they let him go. Ja has been doing so much worse than Luka. Luka actually took his team to the finals last year, and Mavericks are like, "Oh, we don't want to give you max money because we can't trust you." What do you think they're going to do with you, Ja? I mean, come on. So I can see Ja Morant next year being on a different team, and Memphis Grizzlies moving off from him and kind of rebuilding and retooling. Again, you got a Malone out there. You got a Budenholzer. You have some championship coaches out there. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a stud, double-double machine. You got some other players and some other role players around that squad. But Ja, he is a chip. You can trade him away. I think you can get some draft capital. I think you can get a superstar and some other role players. So I think you can get something for him. Don't be surprised to see Ja get traded away at the end of the year. So this is going to be very important for him and all the deals. Because again, I mean, these companies don't want to invest in guys that are going to get in trouble, that are clowning, that are not going to make them money. So don't be surprised to see Ja lose a lot of deals at the end of this playoffs if he does not show some maturity. So I want to see him play. I want to see him go against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I want these guys to go toe-to-toe, and I would love to see a good series. I just don't think we're going to get that. But who do you got winning, and what's your record?
I got the Thunder, but I think I'm going to give them. I think they're going to do it in 5. I think Memphis can at least steal 1.
One, really?
I think they can get at least 1. I think what's going to happen is the series is going to go up 2-0. They may get game 4 elimination game just because of sheer doing their best to put their best foot forward. And I think the Thunder are going to take it back to OKC and close it out. But yeah, I think Thunder in 5. I think Memphis has funny enough shooting to keep them in it, which, it can help neutralize the Thunder is if you can have shooting that counteracts it. And ironically enough, the Grizzlies have that when it gets going. And I think there's at least one game in Memphis that it could steal. So I'm going to say Thunder in 5.
Yeah, I'm glad you can give them the 1, but I'm not. I think this is a sweep. The Grizzlies, such a disappointment to this year. They were right there. They were in the 4th spot. They were doing good. And then to get rid of your coach, I think that just derailed this squad completely. And you saw the way Ja Morant started to act when the substitute teacher came into the fold. Give me OKC. I think they sweep this. I think by time that second game and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is clicking and dropping 30 plus, I think they're going to feel better about themselves. And if that Oklahoma City Thunder team starts feeling itself, watch out. They're going to be dangerous. So, but let's jump into this number 2 matchup. I am super excited.
This one's a good one.
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun with the Rockets. Ime Udoka, who's probably one of the most underrated coaches in the league right now, against Steve Kerr and those Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors, of course, Steph Curry. Happy playoff Jimmy has showed up, dropped 38 the other night in the play-in tournament. Was a little disappointed on the way Golden State finished the season. A little disappointed in some of the bench players, Kuminga not really being a part of the team, which I think they're really going to need him. I think they really need Draymond Green. I think they need his energy, his assists, and his presence defensively. But I'm hoping that the other Draymond Green doesn't show up in this series, because Houston Rockets are a fun team to watch, man. I love me some Amen Thompson, and I am super stoked for that matchup with Amen Thompson going against Steph Curry. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The biggest number that jumped out to me here is Steph Curry, 39.7% from three this year. This was his worst shooting percentage since 21-22. So this is going to be interesting because they're going to have to score some points. Golden State is not going to hold this run of this young Rockets team down because they can score 114 points a game. They are great on the boards. They're about 49 rebounds a game. They're a little low on the assists, but they make up for it in other areas, I think, defensively. But amen, Jalen Green, Alfred Sengun, their all-star, who averages over 19 points a game. You have Van Vliet, who has playoff experience.
Mm-hmm.
You have Brooks, who that's going to be the other X factor there, is Brooks poking Draymond Green. I'm waiting for that bomb to just explode. I think that's going to be a lot of fun if those two go toe-to-toe, because it's
going to happen.
Go to him and go, dude, Brooks, I don't care if you get kicked out of the game. You go talk. I wanted to see you talk to Draymond as soon as the ball is tipped. Get him off his game. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But, man, this Rockets team. But I'm going Golden State on the first question here. Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Draymond Green. Is this their last chance at a chip? Is this their last legitimate chance at getting a championship?
No, I think they've got a couple more seasons. And the only reason why I say that is because acquiring Jimmy Butler and signing to extension bought them some more time. And like what we've kind of been talking about with the theme of the show, it feels like, which is if you've got a monocle of talent and you've got a good head coach, a solid organization, free agents will come to you. And I feel like that's what the Golden State Warriors have. They have had 5 championships in, I think, 8 years or 7 years or some outrageous number like that. It's a lot of success in a short amount of time.
Right.
And they have shown that they have basically reformed themselves to where at one point in this season with Jimmy Butler, they were a top 4 team. And I don't think they're not a top 4 team. I just think that how records and tiebreakers fell, they found their way into the play-in, but ultimately they turned out to be the 7th seed. Right. I think that's nothing more than just, there's other teams that had tiebreakers early on in the season. But as soon as Jimmy Butler got onto the team, was able to take the defensive pressure away from Steph Curry, this team's offense opened up, and it opened up for other players as well. And again, like what we've been talking about, trades might happen. You never know who might come available post playoff run, dilemmas or debacles or whatever the case may be. So I don't think that this is the last of the Golden State Warriors, but I do think the end is near, ironically enough. Now, whether or not that's Draymond Green goes first, Steph Curry, or Steve Kerr, my money would be on Draymond Green. But I think that we are seeing the twilight of this dynasty be sunset because Curry's getting up there in age. Draymond's getting up there in age. I think Kerr will stick around, but I mean, the Splash Brothers aren't there anymore, and the Warriors are going to have to look to see what they're going to do for the future. Because right now, with who they have, that's not going to get it done.
Right, and I can see that happening. Steph Curry, 37. I think he's got 3 to 5 years left in him. You look at he's just. I think especially if he just sticks to being a shooter. But they're definitely going to put more around him. Look, Jimmy Butler's not young anymore either. But how important is this playoffs for Jimmy Butler and the way he exited Miami and all the hubbub and BS that kind of went on with the trading and I want to go to Phoenix. Phoenix doesn't want you. I really don't want to go to Golden State, but then he ends up going to Golden State. I mean, so how important is his performance? How important is this performance for Jimmy Butler to show well in these playoffs?
I think his performance is more important to be done successfully on his part more than the Miami Heat's needing success against the Cleveland Cavaliers, because Jimmy Butler made all this fuss. I lost my joy for the game and all this stuff. And I need to, I need to love basketball all over again. And then he goes to the Golden State Warriors, gets a contract extension, gets the pay raise that he's looking for. And if it's all for nothing, I think it's a big looking at Jimmy Butler. Hey, what happened? You got to this team, you got paid, you got everything you wanted, and where were you when it was needed the most?
Right.
And I think Jimmy Butler has more to prove, in my opinion, because of what his antics were, the way he went about it to get out of Miami. I think he has more to prove than Miami has more to prove with them getting into the playoffs as the 10th seed, in my opinion. Because Jimmy, if you're this much of a difference maker, we need to see it then. Like, you all by yourself got the Heat to the NBA Finals twice. Now you've got help. Let's see if you can do it again, because with all the hoopla that he did, he better get there.
Right. But on the other side of the coin, man, this Houston Rockets team, second in the West, a fun team to watch. Jalen Green becoming a superstar. Amen Thompson becoming a superstar. Alfred Sengun, an all-star, playing out of his mind. How well do they need to perform in these playoffs to legitimize being that second seed in the West?
It's extremely important, but I think very similar to like the Detroit Pistons, they're just not enough to get it done. And I think what has helped them is they have really made their money and made their success based on defense. And Udoka's like the way that he's able to coach up these guys. And I think, again, this is a Rockets team that we did not expect to get to the second in the West. You got Jalen Green that's ascending to being like the number one guy, but still isn't quite there yet. You have Thompson that is turning into like a defensive player of the year type of candidate, but it's still very young. And you named a bunch of other players. I think that the Rockets they're there, but they need someone like a Dame Lillard. They need someone like a number one guy that Jalen Green doesn't have to be the A1 scorer, because teams, if they shut him down, it really stagnates this offense. And, the Rockets, in my opinion, are just too inexperienced at the moment. This is going to be a good thing for them if they get, further than 4 games out of this series, because it's a lot of experience that every young player on that team needs. But I just think that, like, with how young they are and just how quickly they got success, I think this is unexpected. And I think, like, they're glad to be at the dance, but they're obviously not meant to go much further. They're not built for a championship. They're not built to go to a conference final. They did really, really well and shocked a lot of people. And I think now it's like, you're going to go up against a better coaching staff. And I wouldn't say a better roster, but you're going to go against championship caliber players, and we're going to notice a difference. And I think, unfortunately, the Rockets are just, they got invited too soon, but they're on their way.
You know what? I like the Rockets a little bit better than that. I think this is one of those cases where youth is going to bode well for them in these playoffs against an aging Golden State Stars team. Amen Thompson, I think he's going to give Steph Curry fits. He's going to start running out of gas. And then you got a younger guy coming after you who is going to just be in your face the whole time. And you're not going to hold Steph down. Steph's going to kind of get his. But who else on that team is going to show up? Yeah, you can maybe get Jimmy Butler to drop you 30. But you need somebody else. And again, to me, this Rockets team has some depth to it. They have a defensive presence. And they don't have a slouch of a coach. I think Udoka can coach head-to-head with Steve Kerr, even though Steve Kerr is probably one of the best coaches we've seen in the past 25 years. But, to his credit, you also got the greatest shooter that ever lived. You also had the greatest backcourt that there ever was in the NBA. So, I mean, it's like, Phil Jackson. You got Michael Jordan. So, I mean, so sometimes, yes, you're a great coach, but you had a little bit of help. I really love this Rockets team, and I think this Rockets team has what it needs to beat Golden State Warriors. And I'll give you my pick first. So
Go
I am
ahead.
picking the Houston Rockets.
Ooh.
I think they win this in 6.
Okay.
I'm going Houston. I got the youth movement over the age. I just don't think Steph has enough in him. I've seen some inconsistencies in his game this year. I've seen inconsistencies with Golden State this year. Draymond Green, I think, is going to have fits. Brooks is going to just be all over him. And, once he gets frustrated, that's it. He goes down a path that you don't want to go down. I don't know. Again, I got the Rockets, man. I think this is going to be their coming out party. They're going to be a dangerous team in the West because the West is a gauntlet. And for them to get to the 2nd seed is hugely impressive.
Right.
To fight through all those teams, the Nuggets, the Lakers. I mean, and the list goes on. To be able to do what they did and be comfortable, they didn't have to fight for seeding or a playoff spot. So they didn't have a lot of that drama to build up. They know they can win. I think they have the confidence. So Golden State, you guys are on notice. I got the Rockets in 6.
Oh, Jason. I've got the Warriors in 6 because listen, you go with youth, sure, but you cannot sit there and tell me that experience is going to be forgotten in this series and youth is all of a sudden going to conquer it. How many times have you seen where the young son tries to show up dad on the court, go one-on-one, and the son just can't get over it because dad's the vet. Dad has the experience. He knows what you're going to do. The Warriors right now, yes. Are they older? Yeah, of course. They're one of the older teams. But Jimmy Butler, I think what's missed upon that is not only scoring, but his defense, the ability for him to get rebounds, his ability to pass the ball. Steph Curry, don't get me wrong, Thompson is young, but he has to chase Curry. Curry is a marathon type of player, very similar to like Rip Hamilton way back in the early 2000s, for those that remember.
Right.
People hated playing against Rip Hamilton and a Reggie Miller because they ran all game. They'd go through and defenders hated it because they didn't want to get checked into screens, and the way that Golden State kind of facilitates these little backdoor screens and stuff, Curry's going to get open. And then don't forget, you still have Jonathan Kuminga out there who doesn't have to be a number one guy. He's a third option. And coming off the bench, he averages almost 20 points a game. And he's extremely athletic. And that's not to say that Buddy Hield, who will probably be forgotten, can also get hot at any given time. He's not now the second guy. He's not now the guy that needs to score the second most points. He can just be a spot-up shooter, and he can shoot. When he gets hot, he can get there. I think that the Rockets, yes, have the youth, but don't have the experience, and you can only coach youth so much without experience. I think that's what makes this very difficult, and I think the Warriors they're champions. You're not going to bounce a championship team in the first round, considering that I would make the argument they're stronger this year than they were last year. And yes, the Rockets have made a come up a little bit. But the Warriors, they just have too much going for them with Steve Kerr. Draymond Green, if you don't think that he's going to affect, the offense of the Rockets in the playoffs, I think to me, like Draymond Green's campaign to be player of the year, which is a very strong one, could be cemented in this series just because of what he's going to do with those young Rocket players. And he's the wily vet now. He's not just this young Draymond Green. He's learned a few things. He's very smart on the defensive side. And I think Dylan Brooks would be lucky to play in all 6 games that I'm predicting. I think Dylan Brooks gets tossed in like 3 of them. Draymond Green maybe gets tossed in 1 of them. But I think ultimately the Rockets are just, again, too soon. That's not to say that they won't be back again, and maybe next year they'll get over the hump. But I just think that the Warriors are they've got too much experience. You have Steph, you have Jimmy now. Like, no, Warriors in 6. As much as I want the Rockets to be successful, it's not the season. It's not yet. Not yet. Hey, great job for getting the second.
Rockets are playing with house money. They have no pressure. And Ime Udoka has something to prove. I really believe he has a chip still on his shoulder from the way he was bounced from Boston.
I agree, but he's not playing. He's not on the court. He's coaching.
Hey, coaching is very important in the playoffs, and I think he's going to have that team ready. So watch out for them Rockets. We'll see who's right. It's an interesting matchup here, but
it's a great one.
I think Steph's going to get tired, man. Unfortunately,
we'll see. It hasn't happened yet, so
it's coming. Father Time is undefeated. Trust me, I know. And when my son gets old enough, he's probably going to beat me out in the playground too, because the back starts hurting a little bit. The knee starts getting a little shaky. You play it off a little bit. I'll let you win. Meanwhile, you go back in the house and go, damn.
There's no easy victories. There's no you got to earn it. If I got to hack you, you better overcome the fouls.
Exactly. So let's jump into your squad now. Very excited about this one because we got those Los Angeles Lakers against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is going to be a fun series, man. There are some great series in these playoffs right now, man. This is why I love basketball. JJ Redick, Chris Finch. I don't even know what to do because you got LeBron James, twilight of his career. You had the Luka trade. You have so many storylines in this series right now. Ant Edwards blacking out. The Lakers, no center presence. You have a center presence, with Minnesota. But my big question is, does LeBron need to take the lead in these playoffs, or does he automatically defer to Luka, considering Luka just came off being in the NBA Finals last year?
I think the reason why LeBron is even more energized and excited for the second half of the Lakers season and coming into the playoffs is he's no longer the number one option for the Lakers. He can defer to Luka. 26-year-old Luka, what is he tired from? I'm curious. I know he got flacked a little bit for his conditioning in Dallas, which is part of their excuse of why they got rid of him. But look, LeBron, yes. Is he like the leader of the Lakers? Yes. But since February, when Luka has been added to the Lakers, LeBron has made it very known to Luka that this is going to be Luka's team and that he is backing Luka. Luka, we'll play around you. You don't need to worry about fitting in with us. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it all out. So Luka is the number one guy right now to get it going because he's the spark plug. He can shoot it from three. He can create opportunities. It's just amazing that we have another player in LeBron that can do that, and LeBron can play defense. I think that the Lakers leaning on Luka is going to be what kind of helps get some of this Laker magic moving a little bit, because this is a dynamic of the Lakers we have never seen before in the playoffs since LeBron has been there, which is they actually have an outside presence when it comes to shooting, ball handling. And I agree, there is no center presence. Jackson Hayes isn't it. Even if Max Keebler comes back, he's a rotation guy at best.
Right.
But with the Minnesota Vikings, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, all you need to worry about is making sure that you can hit your shots, create opportunities. And I think the Lakers have one of the best three players that can do so in LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Luka. But Luka primarily is the guy that's going to get the Lakers off into the right start and lead this team. And LeBron will happily let that happen because LeBron's not trying to go 56 points with a triple-double behind it. He can just follow behind Luka and then help the rest of the team when needed, because this is Luka's time to shine.
See, to me, I'm thinking opposite, because I know LeBron knows that he's done, whether he wants to play next year. I think this is his best chance right now to get another championship playing next to Luka Doncic. And I think he's going to give everything he has to try to do that. And this is going to be one of those things that's going to be interesting when it comes down to the end of the game. Who gets the ball? Who takes the last shot? Because that's always been the knock on LeBron too. It's kind of throughout his career a little bit is he'd have an open shot and then he'd defer to one of his cohorts because he kind of didn't want to be selfish. He wanted to pass the ball. So I could see LeBron wanting to take control, wanting to show that he is the GOAT, because there's always those conversations. I think he wants to get that other championship ring. With Luka, I think Luka's just excited to be playing basketball for a good team. If he was still on Dallas, that Dallas team, I think, would still be struggling, and I still think they would have been bounced because he would have had, if Kyrie Irving gets hurt, etc. So that wasn't the same Dallas team that he had in last year's playoffs, and his motivation wasn't there either. So I don't think you would have had the same Luka if he was still in Dallas. Then the chip on his shoulder, I got to get my game shape because now I'm playing with the king. And I think the king's going to want to go into this and go, guys, this is my last hurrah. I'm going to do everything I can to be the leader of this team. So it's going to be interesting to see. Again, this is going to be a great matchup. But they're also going against a Minnesota Timberwolves team that is not to be trifled with. And Anthony Edwards, this is going to be a great matchup for him. But is it time for Anthony Edwards to kind of just get over it and be the face of the league? He talked about blacking out, watching Michael Jordan videos. Is this his time to just get over it and be Anthony Edwards? I'm going to go out there and be a mega superstar because he has that kind of talent. We talked about Ja a little bit and kind of him fading away from that because of some of his off the court and on the court antics. You don't see a lot of those antics with Anthony Edwards, but is this his time to be the man?
I think it is time for him. I think what's concerning, though, is it's not that he doesn't want to accept the mantle of the face of the league, which, by the way, like he's even said that he doesn't want to do it, but yet he does all the things that would require somebody to be the face of the league, which is have these great performances. And him by himself is really lifting this team, which all intents purposes really doesn't have anything going for it, but yet he has willed the Timberwolves to be this competitive team. And it does help that he has a Julius Randle that's kind of like a nice little sidekick. And also they still have Rudy Gobert, who's a really good interior defender. But for the most part, Anthony Edwards, who is like one of the last two-way superstars that we have in the NBA that not only plays great defense, but also can score the basketball at a really great rate, improves his shooting each year. Right. This is one of the things that I'm concerned with the Lakers, which is how do you answer for Anthony Edwards? Because there is just so much to having to, stop him. Do you stop him in the sake of letting everyone else get going? And I think what'll happen is the fact that they're playing against the Lakers, which, by the way, is going to draw so many viewers to these games. The entire world is going to see how talented Anthony Edwards is. And I think that's where he will start elevating to being the face, or he'll be one of like the faces of the league with like a Luka, for example, and Anthony Edwards, and maybe Jason Tatum if he ever gets that kind of respect. But I think Anthony Edwards, this is the playoff series that could really push him into that, especially if he has these like great performances to keep up with a Luka or LeBron. I think this could be a coming out party for Anthony Edwards and start a campaign for him next season to be, in conversations very much like Cade Cunningham to be like an MVP candidate just because of the level of play that he brings his team up to.
And he definitely needs to be there. But this Timberwolves team, it's deeper than you think. Naz Reid, man, I love some Naz Reid. Averages a little over 14 points a game, but he is a big body and a presence. And I think that's where this is going to come down to is the Lakers, don't have any big bodies down low. So, I mean, you talked about Rudy Gobert. Don't forget about Dante DiVincenzo, my boy from New York.
That's right.
Who I do miss. So you do got a guy that can shoot from the outside. So you do have some presence out there. You do have a guy that has some playoff experience. So Anthony Edwards is not a lone wolf right now. He has help around him. But to me, does that lack of a center position ultimately doom these Los Angeles Lakers in these playoffs?
No, because they have Luka and LeBron. I mean, I think what they have done all season is they have found a way to win. Now, granted, their defense has slowly kind of like gotten worse as the season has worn on, but they have also found ways to win offensively. And, the same questions and conversations we have about depth with the Timberwolves is it's kind of also ignoring the fact of how deep the Lakers team is as well. Like, they have a bunch of players that can score as well. You got Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, which is probably the best third option in the NBA right now. And honestly, if there is a conversation for most improved, I know we threw out Cade Cunningham. Austin Reeves is very much in that race as well for how much he's improved his game, even with these two superstars, and at one point having Anthony Davis on the team as well. So I think not only is it like the Timberwolves question, but it's the Lakers question of like, what can the Timberwolves do to stop what the Lakers have, even if they don't have a center, because they've got so many playmakers around that it's going to force Rudy Gobert to have to go play on the perimeter. And if anyone remembers the last time that Luka got Rudy Gobert out on the perimeter, he absolutely cooked him, and it could happen again. So I think, the Timberwolves need to worry about, can they play small with the Lakers? Because the Lakers have a bunch of players that maybe not size-wise can match up, but you have to respect their skill and what they bring on the court. And the Timberwolves may have to play to that lineup, which then plays in the Lakers' hands. So I think that's what the advantage is for the Lakers of maybe not necessarily having a center, because the Timberwolves will have to play to the Lakers' strengths.
Right. And again, this is going to be a great matchup. This is going to be so exciting. And you are correct. There are going to be a ton of eyeballs on the television screen watching this game with Luka, LeBron, and now you got Anthony Edwards. So this is going to be a great matchup. So I kind of know who you're going to pick.
What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
It's just craziness. I'm losing my mind a little bit here. But what do you think the series record is going to be?
I think it's going to be Timberwolves in 4. No, I'm just kidding.
I almost fell out of my seat.
That's right.
Don't do that again.
No. I've got the Lakers. I would say I got the Lakers in 6. I think the Timberwolves are a very good matchup for the Lakers. As much as I've said, the Timberwolves don't have much, and you graciously pointed out the players that they have, I think Anthony Edwards is going to go toe-to-toe with the two, Luka and LeBron, but obviously it's going to be too much for the Timberwolves. And I think ultimately the Lakers walk out of the series. I think it'll take about 6 games, I would say. I think the Timberwolves are got a spry bunch amongst them. And I think Anthony Edwards, like I said, though, like, we really have to find a way how we're going to contain him, because he can take over games and the Lakers just need to find a way. I don't know if Vanderbilt is going to be able to, contain Anthony Edwards very well, but, again, it's going to take a team committee to help that out. But I got the Lakers in 6.
It's one of those things, you just let Edwards get his 40 and you try to stop everybody else.
Sure.
But to me, the biggest X factor in this is going to be coaching. JJ Redick, first-year coach, really hasn't coached anything. So what is he going to be able to do in the playoffs? Will he be able to make adjustments? Those halftime adjustments, if you're down or your team's not playing well, is he going to be able to make those adjustments on the fly? Chris Finch has been there before. He lost to Luka last year in the playoffs against the Dallas Mavericks. So this is going to be interesting. I think this is going to come down ultimately to coaching, but I have the T-Wolves in 7.
Wow.
I think this is Anthony Edwards' time to shine. He knows it. He knows this is it. He has to perform well. If he can get past LeBron James and Luka, he knows that will send him on the path of greatness. So I have the T-Wolves in 7. I think they just have way too much. I think that interior presence is just not enough for the Lakers to overcome, and I think the Timberwolves exploit it. But I think ultimately this is going to come down to coaching, because we're going to see what JJ Redick is really made of Is he going to coach or is LeBron going to coach? So I'm curious to see how that dynamic is going to work. But
Jason,
yeah, man.
I came on your show graciously for
I know
you
you
to
picked
tell
for
me that info. You okay?
I apologize.
It's all right.
But,
It's all right.
I can't lie to the people. I got to tell them what I'm feeling. And again,
Just
if
rip
I'm
my heart
wrong,
out. Just stomp
if
on
I'm
it.
wrong, you could come back on, and I will bring you
Dude,
back
I'm gonna
on,
as soon
and
as
you can
the
eviscerate
Lakers
me.
close it out, I'm coming looking for you.
You could come back on, dude, and you can tear me up. So
All right.
I'm okay with that. But
Also,
dude,
too, have your phone on if the Knicks don't make it out of the first round.
Knicks don't make it out of the first round. I'm gonna do what Luka did, and I'm gonna throw this thing across the room. So when Luka got traded, he threw his phone. The Knicks can't get past the first round. This thing's going out the window.
Well, don't throw it until I get a hold of you and ask you what happened. So
we'll see what happens. So, but dude, again, this is going to be a fun, exciting series. I cannot.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, and then we got number 4, those Nuggets, who fired their championship coach literally at the end of the season, which made
future
absolutely
Knicks head
no
coach.
sense, possibly. And then you got those Clippers, which I'll give you credit. You played those Clippers up, man. You talked about them. You talked about the Claw. I'm excited about this series because this sets up like a Batman movie. You got the Joker, you got the beard, you got the Claw. This is like a full-on, a superheroes movie. This is great television. But you talked those Clippers up, man, and I tell you what, they were impressive. They finished the season strong. I'm not going to give Kawhi a lot of credit, but man, he has definitely stepped up. But again, now you have David Alderman. You have an interim head coach going against Tyronn Lue, Skip to Malou, who has won a chip before. He's been in the playoffs before. So this is going to be interesting. Will coaching be the biggest factor in this playoff series? You have an interim coach versus a coach that's been there before.
I think coaching, ironically enough, will play a factor in this, which is why I think you and I both agree that when Denver let go of Mike Malone, it was a shock. 3 games to go in the regular season, you let go of the guy that's kind of been leading the charge and making sure your team stays together. And honestly, I don't even think the Nuggets look like the same team. They're fortunate to be in the 4th seed. And honestly, if it wasn't for Joker being on the team, how do I not pick the opposing team to go sweep them in 4 games? Because I don't know who this coach is. I don't know how well they're going to play. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sure, there's a little bit more energy with the Nuggets because of a head coaching change. But again, the head coach is kind of the leader of the team to kind of facilitate and guide and get you guys going. Tyronn Lue is a former NBA head coach, and he's not just some head coach. He helped coach LeBron, and he helped get the Cavaliers to multiple playoff appearances. He's helped get these Clippers into a couple of playoff appearances. Not last year. Last year was kind of an anomaly with a bunch of injuries, but Tyronn Lue has also coached up these Clippers to achieve more than that they should. And this Clippers team right now, and again, I'm glad you pointed this out, don't sleep on him. And I bet right now, everyone's very nervous about how the Nuggets are going to perform in front of the Clippers, and I bet because of coaching. If this was Mike Malone leading this team, we might be saying, okay, I think maybe 6-7 games leading to the Nuggets. But now I'm wondering how many people are going to say 6 games, maybe even 5 games for the Clippers to eclipse over these Nuggets because there's no head coach, there's no leadership. You got Jokic, which is great, but what's the direction of the team?
And that's what I wanted to touch on is man, I love Nikola Jokic. Again, the best basketball player on the planet right now, averaging a triple-double, phenomenal season, who to me ultimately should be the MVP, hands down. SGA, I think, is going to get it. But he's not a boisterous guy. He's kind of quiet, his demeanor. You don't see him talking a lot on the court, and that's where I think coaching becomes important because he just wants to play ball. He goes out there, plays ball, and then goes plays with his horses. So that's where I was really concerned about this Nuggets team is he's not a floor general. He's not a coach where you get a LeBron James. So if you had an interim coach and you had LeBron James on the team, you knew LeBron James would kind of coach his guys up. Do you see Luka? No, excuse me. Do you see I'm thinking of Luka. Do you see
Jokic
being a little more boisterous, a little more vocal, a little more of a coach on this team to help combat some of that inexperience at the coaching level?
I think so. I think Jokic is going to turn into that player coach that's on the court. And honestly, you were probably going to see him draw up more plays. I mean, there was a clip of him actually doing that in a huddle. Again, this is after Mike Malone's already been fired. So this was in the last like 3 games we see this happen. But Jokic, I think, is going to be a little bit more of a vocal commander, leader, whatever you want to call it, because there really is no other coach that's really doing that. And Jokic is the closest thing to whatever Mike Malone had as a coach that's playing on the court. And Jokic is not just some guy that gets triple doubles and then goes home and pets horses. No, he's an extremely intelligent basketball player that not only is he scoring buckets, but he is, giving the ball to where it needs to go, getting guys set up where they need to go. He is dissecting defenses and getting the offense ready to go as he's bringing the ball up the court. So I don't want people to sleep on the fact that Jokic is a quiet guy, but I think we're going to see a point in Jokic where like a switch is flipped to where he's now got to be that loud leader. He's going to be finger pointing and telling you where you need to go because someone's got to do it. And I think he's going to be the leader that Mike Malone was on the sideline. I think we're going to see Jokic translate that onto the court. And that's what we're going to see a more fiery Jokic because he's got more into the game now because he's actually having to like push these guys more so than what the coach that's on the sidelines right now as an interim is having to do.
And for me, the biggest X factor on this Nuggets team is going to be Jamal Murray. Because Joker needs his Robin to his Batman, even though he's the Joker. Again, I'm all mixed up with superhero stuff here. But Jamal Murray coming off that injury, what is he going to do? He was averaging 21 points a game. So Joker needs that help. So is Jamal Murray going to be that guy that he can count on to be his second man? So that to me is going to be a very interesting dynamic because if you look at the numbers, the Nuggets should just run away with this series. They average over 120 points a game. The Clippers are about 112. Nuggets 31 assists a game. Clippers are only about 25. So I mean, a lot of the metrics really skewed towards Denver, but I think a lot of those metrics are skewed because Nikola Jokic skews those numbers. But other questions, you go on that flip side with the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard has this aura around him now of, ever since he won in Toronto, he's been kind of MIA. You don't know which Kawhi you're going to get. He's kind of always hurt. He's always secretive. He's got his people talking for him. Does Kawhi Leonard have something to prove now that he's healthy and playing well? Does he have something to prove in these playoffs?
I think he has something to prove, but truthfully, I don't think he really cares. And the way that he goes about his business, he doesn't really care. I mean, ironically enough, Stephen A. Smith has made the point that Kawhi is kind of the worst superstar that could be on a team is because he doesn't do any of the advertisement. He doesn't do any of the marketing. He's not really available for more than 50% of the season. He kind of determines when he's going to come to work or whatever. But I mean, when he's healthy, he's elite. And I think what we're seeing with Kawhi Leonard is a buy-in process from Kawhi Leonard in itself. I think we can see the fact that Kawhi Leonard with Paul George wasn't fully committed to that team. And maybe it was because he wasn't bought into Paul George or maybe some of the other roster that was a part of it. But for some reason, it feels like there is more of an urgency from Kawhi with a James Harden, with Zubac, with Norman Powell, with, fill in the role player that's on this team. That kind of, it feels like, and again, Kawhi has basically been back with the Clippers playing regularly since the turn of the new year. So since January, he's played consistently. I mean, other than a 2-week stint that he had where, he didn't play, he's played in every available game that he has been in. And every month his scoring has increased. And I think it's because there's this new vibrance of energy that's coming from Kawhi because he's actually trusting this roster. So I don't think that Kawhi really cares if he has anything to prove. I think he's just finally buying in that he thinks this team is worth something. And now we all forgot how good Kawhi was healthy. And maybe this is the first time we've seen a healthy Kawhi in a long time that we're like taken aback of like, wow, I forgot that Kawhi is an elite defender. I forgot that Kawhi is a really good shooter when he's in rhythm and when he's taking a defender off the dribble. Like, we forget how talented of a player Kawhi is because we're so used to him being out. Like, right. Kawhi availability is the most obscene thing because he's never available. Right. This is like one of the first times in a while we've seen him actually available. And now it's like he's done this when he's available, but he doesn't do it often because he's hardly ever available. So I think that's why, like, the Clippers and Kawhi, does Kawhi have anything to prove? I think he's just reminding everybody how talented he is.
Right. And when I think about that too, he's already won his chips. Joker has his chip and he's got a cabinet full of hardware. Where does James Harden fit into this? Because James Harden is a scoring machine. He's been on some really good teams, but has always fallen short of expectations, especially in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of memory pictures that I take when I think of certain players. And when I hear Tony Romo, I could just see him, missing, holding that field goal, holding his helmet. When I think of James Harden, I see James Harden crawling on the ground looking for his mouthpiece. In that playoff game where he got destroyed. So where does James Harden fit into all of this with his legacy, and what does he have to prove, not only in this series, but in these playoffs?
I think James Harden needs to prove that he is actually worth the hassle of what he has taken to each team. Like, from when it was, him weaseling his way out of Houston to go to Brooklyn, when he weaseled his way out of Brooklyn to go to the Sixers, and then finessing the Sixers to send him to the Clippers. I think it's all like, it needs to come to a point where it was all worth it, because James Harden is becoming the most diva type of player, only to be bounced in a playoff series and to be gone. And I think, fortunately, James Harden is in a situation where you've got a Kawhi Leonard who, when healthy, you don't have to be the number one guy. Right. And I think that's a huge benefit to James Harden. But to me, James Harden, like, he's a very good player, but maybe it's me. I'm not sure if anointing him one of the top 75 players in the entire legacy of the NBA's age is a little premature for me, just because, like, yes, you've made it to the playoffs 16 years, whatever, but what do you have to show for it? Because you haven't gotten anything further than a semifinals appearance. Or actually, I take that back. You got into the conference finals and got eliminated in 7 games, but never got over the top. Never was able to do more than that. And truthfully, when you were with, Westbrook and Kevin Durant, the one time you went to the NBA finals, you kind of didn't even show up. And at least in my recent memory of James Harden being in some of these playoff series, it's more often than not that he kind of goes away quietly. Like, where is James Harden? James Harden in the playoffs last year, I think, for the Sixers, where was he to be found? Didn't score the ball, wasn't a very good distributor, terrible on defense. Clearly was not the reason why that they were making it out of those playoffs. So I think James Harden really needs to step up and show, like, I am worth the commitment, the hassle that it took to get me on this team, and I am the player that can lead further into the playoffs. Or if he just continues to, choke, I think that's going to be a hit on his legacy in terms of, like, is James Harden really, like, he's a great regular season player, but is he worth the hassle when it comes to playoff time?
Right. And to me, again, he is a talented scorer. He's a talented basketball player. But again, he's points for hire.
Yeah.
He's okay. I need 30 points. I'm just going to hire you to get me 30 points in the regular season, but playoff time, you like disappear into your beard. Like I just don't know what it. I just don't know what it is about him and why he folds when you get those higher pressure situations. And I think that's always going to be a knock on him. So tell me who you got in your series record.
I got the Clippers. I got them in 6. I think the Nuggets, obviously, as champions, are going to put up a hell of a fight. I got the Clippers, man. I mean, listen, like what we've talked about, you got coaching that I think is a huge factor. You've got a lot of players that, you got a lot of players on the Clipper side that are a committee. They're buying in. Kawhi, you got James Harden, Zubac. I just think that this Clippers team is a team to be reckoned with. And I think assuming that they're just going to be bounced just because of the 5th seed is a bit tough, considering there's more evidence that they are hitting their stride. So I got the Clippers in 6.
Wow. And here we go again. I'm going against the grain, dude. I have the Nuggets in 6. I think Nikola Jokic, still being the best basketball player on the planet. Jamal Murray coming back. He's got his right-hand man. I think they kind of get over that until Kawhi, the old Kawhi, shows up. I don't trust him. Until James Harden does something in the playoffs, I don't trust him. There's not much else on there. I don't know. I'm thinking the over-under on Steve Ballmer turning red and going bananas in the stands. I think it's about 12. Sometimes they cut to him and you just see him going like bananas.
Yeah.
I just think Nikola Jokic is too much. The way he distributes the ball, the way he takes over games, his scoring, he is infectious with his team. He gets everybody involved. But I got the Nuggets in 6, man. Until one of those guys shows up and proves me wrong, I can't trust him. Sorry, James Harden. Your history has shown me otherwise. I can't trust you.
All right.
So,
well, when the Clippers take the series, I'm come looking for you.
Look, I'm right here, dude. You know where to find me. Come on. I haven't thrown my phone yet, so we've got a few series where we're gonna go against each other. So I'm excited about it, dude. I'm excited about some of these matchups here. This is going to be a great NBA playoffs, guys. Super. Man, I can't wait. Games starting tonight, starting around 1:00 here. I know we have some games. And then, of course, we got a full slate on Sunday. So, guys, be prepared. We're going to talk about these games, the whole playoffs in 3 from deep here, man. I am so excited. I just want playoff basketball. Let's start it. The play-in tournaments kind of got me hooked a little bit. I'm ready for the big fish, man. Let's get the big fish going here because we have some great matchups and some great storylines. And I know a lot of that's going to develop the more games we watch too. So, Mr. Cody, I appreciate you being on for me, man. This has been a long show. We had a lot of basketball to cover. But tell the people where else they can find you, man.
Yeah, man. I am always thankful for an invite. So anytime you need me, you let me know. Subscribe to Drew Code Sports Talk. It's on YouTube. Just search it, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms. Drew Code Sports Talk, all the same name. So just search it. Also, too, half the time I'm usually collaborating with you, Jason. So most of the time I'm tagged on some of the socials. So if you see a Jason video, 9 out of 10 times I'm probably tagged to it. So just subscribe there or follow there. But Jason, always love being invited, man. Love our banter. So can't wait for the playoffs, man, because I'm going to come find you when some of these fall my way, or maybe I might hide from you when they fall your way. So we'll see. I know we got this all recorded. So
it's all recorded. I got it written down, man. So it is going to be a lot of fun. So
it's going to be tons of fun.
Thank you very much for joining me, man. Enjoy the basketball playoffs. Enjoy WrestleMania. This is just going to be a crazy weekend. So thank you very much, and I will hook up with you again. So I'll see you later, Cody. Thank you so much, buddy. All right, guys. And I thank you for joining me, man. Long show, but a great show, man. Lots to talk about. These playoffs are going to be so exciting. Who's going to come out on top? So I'll be back again on Monday. Monday's show, I'll review Saturday and Sunday's games. and we'll see how these playoff landscape starts coming out, man. So thank you all very much for joining me. Again, I'm Jason Colenso. This is 3 from Deep. Subscribe to Boom Broadcasting, man. You will not be disappointed. A lot of great content providers. So, guys, enjoy the basketball. Enjoy WrestleMania. Let's go. And I will check you out. Peace.